Okay, I'm gonna do a little tour of my garden. I have a bunch of videos I've taken over the past few months of starting my seeds and building the expansion of my garden, and I've not been wanting to show any full video or picture of my whole garden until I was able to have time to get online and edit those things into videos and put things out in order. But I have a super unique kind of family life, and everything out here is still a work in progress, and I just don't have enough time to always get everything done the way I want and in a timely fashion. So I'm just gonna show everybody what my garden looks like now, because I'm just so in love with it, even though I have lots of clutter around from projects that are still unfinished. From this end of this gate all the way down here, I built at the end of the summer in 2000. There's this large garden bed that goes around the back of the house that we had built by our lawn care person last summer. And then from the gate all the way down here, I built in April of this year. There used to be a fence right down here where this mailbox is, and the gate was over under this first arch. We took the gate down, I built the new garden beds, I built the fencing, and kind of like doubled my garden space. Our neighborhood replaced all the mailboxes, and I asked if I could keep mine, and then I spray painted it. I have my garden tools and random things I might need. It looks kind of messy, but I didn't pre-plan before I built the garden to take care of all this grass. So as I've been getting boxes, I've been putting them down to help kill the weeds. We're gonna go ahead and pay the landscaper to come in when he has free time this summer to level the back here a little more, and he is gonna put down pebble rocks to match this side of the garden. So I'm gonna build an area back here with propagated hydrangeas that I've been working on, but I can't put anything back there in the ground yet. So I guess let's get started. I planted a lot of things haphazardly. I have chamomile, and I have tucked in different places these little dwarf tomato plants for my daughter. Here I have watermelon on two sides. I have Armenian yard-long cucumber. I had to replant some of these because things happened to some of my plants. I'm battling these yucky weeds. There's a Armenian yard-long also here that that is from my original seed starting. Over here is Kajari melon. Let's see, here I have, I don't know how to say this, but Sharon Tice melon. It's like a little small personal cantaloupe. This is Moon and Stars watermelon, and it has these little speckles on the leaves. This one's been a slow grower. Was started at the same time as all my other melons. The one on this side is doing a little better. That's Moon and Stars. This is Tigger melon. Let's see, here I have, oh, I can't even read it. I have a melon. I can't read the sign what kind of melon it is. But I did draw all my plants out on a chart, so I can always look at my chart. This is Kajari. Let's see, I think I have a sugar baby and another sugar baby. And then this may also be Kajari. Here's some ginger. I actually just recently found out I did not put this in a good place because it's getting too much sun. Then here's my fence here. all along this fence, I shoved extra pole beans along the fence. And then there's some different flowers and things tucked in here, and a bunch of my little dwarf tomatoes. This one's called a Geranium's Kiss, and it's the biggest one. This little guy is Orange Hat, and you know, I should have come up and staked these up a little better, but you know, again, I don't have as much time as I want. Here's a little Orange Hat that has some ripe ones on it. I'll go ahead and grab those. My daughter can have it when she comes home, or my son if he wants them. Here's another Geranium's Kiss. There's some marigolds. I forgot to start marigold seeds, but then I found all these marigolds that volunteered in my yard, and I dug them up every time I found one and plant them in the garden. They're all green beans. Here I have tomatoes. I have a ton of types. I bought all kinds of seeds in the past 2 years, and then I just decided to try every kind and see which ones work. I have Mr. Stripey, Rutgers. There's some on there. Rutgers is supposed to do good in the south with the heat. This is 42-day tomatoes. There's one starting to blush from Emily Gardner. Roma, and my Roma leaves are already getting spots and stuff, like disease on the leaves. This is Arkansas Traveler. Another Roma. Let's see, this is a Parks Whopper. I'm not the best camera lady. I have some basil and chamomile tucked in there. Let's see, I have a Black Sea Man. I really need to get out here and do some more tying up. This is Kellogg's Breakfast. Here is a Purple Cherokee plant. This one is Dr. Weich's or Witches. I don't know how you really pronounce it. Here's one. I think this is Mexican Midget tomatoes. So this is Opal Basil that's gotten too much sun. There's another one. I think this one is Lemon or Lime. What do I have here? This is the triple crop. Here I have a bunch of plants that rather need to be in the shade, or things like mint that I don't want in the garden beds that I have to figure out a plan for. I have some more basils tucked in here. I have Early Girl tomato plant here. I have San Marzanos. It's funny because the Early Girl doesn't have any formed tomatoes yet. Black Seaman. I have some more basils tucked down there. This is called the steak sandwich. Oh, this one really needs to be taken care of. Let's see if I can just tuck it here. I don't think I'm gonna have time to edit this at all, so I apologize. This is Pink Ox Heart, which are like, I believe it's like a large paste tomato, probably, if I'm remembering right. There's one of my volunteer marigolds I transplanted. Look at how many tomatoes down here. Isn't that cool? I have Paul Robeson. I have a beautiful variegated nasturtium. This is a pineapple tomato plant here. Let's see which one I have. 42 Day is the one back here that has all those tomatoes. There's a basil. Let's see. This is my lime basil. It smells so good. And I'm just picking off all the flowering parts so that it will keep growing and not just do seeding. Weed. Okay, this is Kellogg's breakfast tomato. Look, there's some little babies on there. And then I have cardinal basil back there. I started some more from seed because they kind of got sunburned. What do I have here? Mortgage lifter. There's a little guy on there. Here's some ones here. I don't remember which one this is. I think the label's on the other side. Here is I feel like this says pineapple on there. It's a little faded. What do I got back here? Some more tomatoes. Better Boy. So, funny story is I bought all this Baker Creek or M.I. Gardner, I can't remember which, dwarf or miniature popcorn. I meant to make one area for popcorn plants that I could create some kind of squirrel fencing barrier on. And then I planted my garden beds, forgot about the popcorn, and found the seeds. So I have popcorn tucked in to some random places, like at the end of this bed. Not all the seeds came up, but I'm gonna just see what I can do. The last time I tried to grow corn, squirrels ate it all. Here's my peppers. And some of them are at different stages because I didn't have enough time to start them all on the same day, or some of them didn't come up and then I restarted seeds. But I have lots of flowers and some small peppers growing. Shishitos have been the first to produce, and I have a lot of shishitos and several different shishito plants. Somebody gave me this angel trumpet. I have strawberries in this green stalk. I have strawberries in these dollar store stackers, and in this Mr. Stacky that my friend Kelsey gave me. I think this is gladiolus that I tossed a bulb in there last year. Look at this cucumber. I need to see what size they're supposed to get because I may need to pick it soon. This is a green dragon cucumber plant. I think this is like a salt and pepper or a muncher cucumber. I have to go look at my chart that I have. This is White Wonder. There's a little baby on there. Let's see. This is, I think, salt and pepper cucumber. Don't have any babies. This one is Poinsett 76. There's a little guy. This is Armenian. At least one of these is Armenian, possibly both. I had a couple cucumber plants die and I had to replant, and I direct seeded. True Life strawberry basket. I already had tons of strawberries, but I saw this at the store earlier in the year and it had pink flowers, so I bought it. Here's some dill that I planted last fall. I shoved this tomato plant that a neighbor gave me in here. Zinnias. Somebody else gave me this plant. One of them is like a mountain merit. I tried putting peas along this back fence. I planted them a little too late, but I thought maybe the shade of the other plants would help me get a few peas, but something has been going on the other side of this fence and eating the tops off of the pea plants. It could be this furry guy because he loves vegetables. Right, Notch? Are you guilty? Did you eat my peas? Him or a wild animal? So, nasturtiums. Here, I experimented with putting squashes in these tomato cages to try to push them upright. And I have a lot of other things planted with them. I've not had much success with squash because we get the vine borers here. Last year I got like one teeny little zucchini that I plucked when it was really tiny, just so I could say I got one, and I got 2 patty pan squashes before the borers got my plants. When I was planting my green beans, I had started extra seeds because I start them in a wet paper towel, and I came over here and experimented with putting some green beans around the cage that my squash is in. You know, kind of like Three Sisters, but with a cage. There's a dwarf cherry jewel nasturtium. I did this little experiment. I saw somebody put some fruit bag netting around their stem to see if that could deter borer moths laying the eggs here. Knock on wood, my plants are still alive. I've also tried to bury as much of the stem under the dirt as possible. A friend told me that it's really good to put radishes around things to deter pests, so I have a bunch of little radishes tucked in. I have a couple random beets that I planted probably in the fall. There's a few kale plants. Like, with this being near all this other stuff, the little bugs that like to eat the kale and the brassicas, they haven't messed with this plant yet, but they've been eating my other ones. Look, here is some cute little patty pan squashes. Yellow patty pans. I have like Casada Romanesco patty pan, yellow squash. I tried to get some seed varieties of some things that are more resistant to borers, and I think the Romanesco one is supposed to be one of those. There's some zinnias tucked in. I don't know if I planted these or if they grew back from last year. Again, I planted too many tomato plants. I have some tomato plants tucked in. Everything might not be planted appropriately for planting companion plants guidelines, but I was kind of in a mad rush to put my things in the ground because we booked a last minute spring break vacation, and all my things were in cups and they were ready to go out, and I didn't think they could survive in cups while I was gone. I had strawberries here last year. This bed was really full. They started coming into here. I dug a lot up and put them in my towers, left some here, but there was some kind, it was getting too wet in here, and it was like getting moldy, so I dug all my strawberries up. There's like a couple random ones, and I tucked them into extra spaces in some of these beds just to keep them alive for now. I think at the end of the season, I'm gonna dig a lot of them back up and choose one bed and put them all in there. This whole bed is volunteer. All these big green ones, they're volunteer Balsam Camilla balsam, which I think is the same thing as impatiens, and some of them are polka dotted. I planted them here in 2020, and then they just keep reseeding, which I think is cool because with this fence, the trees in the neighbor's yard, and then when my trees get fully leafed out, it's very shady here, so I can't get much to grow, but these guys love it. Here's another random patch of corn, a couple peppers tucked in here, a tomato plant, and then this year I grew ground cherries. I was trying to get Aunt Molly's, but I was only able to get Cossacks pineapple, and you know they're ready when they turn yellow on the husk and fall down. So far I've got a couple of these, and I'm not sure if that's a weed or a baby one. Nobody in my house has really liked these, but I've had a few people tell me like they're good in salads, so I might try it that way. It's hard to describe the taste. It's like a little sweet and tart when you first bite into it, but then as you chew it, then you feel the texture and kind of like the seediness and a little bit of the flavor of a tomato. So when you're not used to some different things, it's kind of an odd sensation to eat. Another tomato plant. There's some kale. The cabbage moths or whatever that likes to eat this have found it. I've sprayed it with BT and removed some leaves, but there's some more of those little buggers. I'm gonna have to come out here and just pull this out, I think. Tomato plant, purple serrano peppers. How cool are those? The lighting's getting weird from the sun. I have some random onions in different places that I planted in the fall, I think. Unless I think I planted these guys in the fall. Possibly in the spring, but I haven't had much success with onions, but this one looks kind of good. This trellis is all noodle beans. Some of them I planted sooner, and some of them are younger. Like this whole side, I originally didn't plant this side of needle beans, but then I planted them. These have tend to grow really well for me, even through the heat. The kids won't eat them, but me and my husband like them. These are cucamelons. Look how high they're getting. They're really slow to grow when they first start putting leaves on, but once they start vining, they grow really well. Here's a little baby one. I don't know if I can get a better lighting over here. Kind of hard to put my camera. I knocked that one off. That's a baby one. I put all different kind of bush beans in this bed, but then along the trellis here, I put pole beans. I don't have markers in them. I just have it. Maybe I have a couple markers, but I wrote it down in my chart. This one got washed off, but purple TP. I have purple TP, red swan bush beans, ring of fire, blue lake. I think I have some ball-filled pole beans. They're purple. There is some cilantro that was going to seed in here. Here's parsley that went to seed. I harvested some of this recently. There's a few little like bok choy and pink mizuna, which is Asian green in here. Then this massive stuff that's everywhere is Chinese pink celery that grew massive. I harvested it too late, but I left a couple of the plants in there to go to seed just to see how it looked, and I'm gonna collect celery seeds. Let's go this way. A random tomato plant that didn't have a home. This may have even been a broken off sucker. There's some sweet potatoes in there. Massive celery. Snapdragon that is now struggling because of the celery. I think this is chamomile. There's some bush beans here. Tomato, massive, huge celery. This bed I put some like bare root blueberry plants in maybe last year, but like they didn't really do much. They're only these tiny little things, so I think when it's not hot out, like later in the year, I'll dig them up and put them somewhere else. I've tried tucking a few different things here to see if I can get anything to grow. It's very, very shady. I tried putting some of my strawberry plants that I dug up in there, and it looks like they're all kicking the bucket. This is just some garden waste that is sitting that will eventually turn to compost. A little broken pot that I'm hoping like little frogs will hang out in. Here's a random coleus. What's this red stuff? Oh, that's different. I'm assuming this is some kind of fungus. I know I had a few pelleted seeds, but it doesn't look like that. Here's a coleus. Oh, that balsam. I let my lawn care guy and my mother-in-law talk me into these rocks, and they look beautiful at first, but it's hard to clean debris out of them. And it was expensive. I wanted to do wood chips. Here's a pineapple top I was trying to propagate. I've done that before, but then I forget to bring them in, and it gets too cold and they die. Hey, buddy. Here's carrots planted in the fall. I've harvested carrots twice out here, and some of them are really tiny, so I just left them. Blackberries. I think I planted like some hollyhocks or something along here. There's some random corn, blackberries. There's my dog Patty that shouldn't be in the garden bed. I believe this is a pomegranate I got from my friend. Oh, there's a really cool butterfly that I don't know what it's called. It's got black with orange tip on the tips of the wings. Here's the fig. This is a calamundan that I got in 2020 from a local lady that gardens. I guess they're just really slow growers. This one is a Satsuma variegated pink lemon. There's some beets that I didn't pull because they were small, and I think I need to come out here and get those big guys. Found out my son will eat roasted beets and he's a super picky eater. This is a key lime. A neighbor was moving and this lemon plant, they left and said that I could have it. And it was kind of sad, but it's coming back. There's one little tiny baby lemon on it. All my other trees don't have fruit because we got that weird freeze when all my stuff was flowering. I think I have holy basil here. This might be a weed. This is Swiss chard. Parsley that went to seed. I think these are dahlias. This is my tiger's eye plant. Some people call it a Chinese lantern, but when you look up online, it's also called a flowering maple, and then also, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it says a bulletin. Oh, I see some pest eggs. Look at that. I've reached the point where it's really hard for me to check individual plants for eggs. See that? That's not good. I don't know what eggs these are, but we're gonna squash them. Here is a really pretty rose bush. That one's on its way out. Yeah, keep these for my bunny. But they make these really pretty pink and white roses. Here is dahlia. This was the first bloom. This is a newer one. This branch broke and I tried to tie it up to save it. I think they want a little more sun than they're getting. Here's a banana plant that I got last year from someone local. It was a pup that grew from their mother tree. And this thing's pretty big. As tall as me at least now. Here's another really pretty dahlia. And this is a little dwarf banana tree that I got, I think in 2020. Possibly last year, but I think I got it before that. Another lady told me to order from this one company on Amazon, and it said it was a dwarf Musa banana, and it said that it fruits, so I don't know. I haven't had fruit yet. We'll see. This, I hate that all the roses are spent on here. This is a really beautiful rose bush that has these variegated leaves. I saw somebody post online that they bought one from Home Depot, and I went searching for it. I think it's like Maurice Utillo. It's a painter that it's named after, but it also resembles the Frida Kahlo roses. And here's a little pinkish red rose bush. When I was buying the cool looking ones, this one just smelled so sweet, so I bought this one too. And here's calla lily. Several years ago, my son and husband got me this plant for Mother's Day. They planted it in the front yard underneath a tree, and it never flowered after the initial flowers that came up died because it wasn't getting enough sun. So I transplanted it to the backyard, and this is the first time that it's flowered again. Oops, I dropped my belly shirt harvest on the ground. Let's go back here. This is an area that has azaleas. They flowered, then we got a freeze, and all the flowers died. There's a lantana. These were here when we moved in. There's a blackberry that I planted here. I planted some bulbs here, like gladiolus and some other things, but it needs to be filled in with some more dirt and some of these staked up. Here's another dahlia that I put in a pot. This is a plant I bought last year, a Picasso calla lily. Calla lilies were always my favorite. Now, I don't know between dahlias and calla lilies. This is a planter a lady gave me last year. It was filled with way too many plants, a bunch of them herbs, and a sun gold tomato plant that was in pretty sad shape, but it produced all the way until November. And then I tucked a small hibiscus plant here. It's making new buds. Here's a gardenia plant that I recently bought and put in this pot. This area over here used to be my first garden bed. It was one 8x4 bed. This year we put in these little metal beds that I had got from someone. for my son to have a garden. He's a grower for a nonprofit in our area called Katie's Crops, and he's going to be donating anything he harvests to local people in need. The squirrels dug up all my sunflower seeds in the front yard where I had sunflowers last year, so I experimented with starting some inside and transplanting them out. I got busy and waited too long, and so some of them died. There's no irrigation ran over here, so I have to remember to water them. My dogs were stepping in it, so I shoved these things in here until they get a little bigger to see if that'll keep them out. These are all various cans that I use to try to make compost. These are sweet potatoes. I think I see like a stink bug there. Then I have a ton of potato plants. A lot of these are volunteers from, I guess, pieces I didn't pick up last year. Let's see if I get this. It's like a stink bug or a squash bug. And then my son's got cucumbers and eggplant and tomatoes and zinnias and some basil. This knockout rose bush has been here for years, but it gets trampled a little bit. This is kind of cool. This is a volunteer cucamelon plant growing in the ground, and I've tried digging a few other volunteers with cucamelons up, and they always die. So I'm just going to leave it there and see what happens. All along this fence I found and dug up some volunteer zinnias and marigolds. This is a baby pool of strawberries. We've actually been getting some really good big berries out of here. Look, there's one. But normally my son comes out here and he catches them all before me, and a lot of time he eats them and doesn't share them with his sisters. If I catch them, I'll make him split them. I mean, we're getting more than we've ever gotten, but it's still not like a crazy amount. And then this is all my garlic. I think I need to come pull some of the smaller ones. I'm not sure if this is from rain or the dogs trampling it or they're just ready to be pulled. I have a tiger's eye plant that a neighbor had cut all the way down and gave to me. Potatoes volunteered in a lot of my fabric pots this year. I'm gonna pick these tomatoes for my son because he's at school. I prune that branch off. I think this is a swamp hibiscus that we were growing from seed from a neighbor. After he planted his bed, I had fabric pots in this space last year, and these potatoes grew out of the ground. I guess they grew through the fabric pot and into the ground. So we have volunteer potato here and a volunteer sweet potato there. So this is gonna be an interesting garden. I tried to make over here more successful by running the strip line across to here, and then we stretch our garden hose out. Turn on a hand crank timer. This is a bunch of straw that neighbors used for decoration, and I saved it to use in my garden, but I have not come out and made good use of it. Let's prove one garlic while I'm out here. This video is super long and I'm not editing it. Let's see. Oh, there's a little tiny one. This arch was here when we moved in, and I planted jasmine, one on each side last year, and look, it reached all the way to the top last year, but then this year it started flowering all the way up to the top. It smells really good. This area we've kind of left alone. It gets really flooded, and we've been trying to get this deck rebuilt, but we've been having some contracting issues. But I got a bunch of shell ginger and irises from people, and they weren't doing well in pots, so I just shoved them in the ground here, and then later if I need to I can dig them up and rework this bed. I plan on putting citronella and lemongrass and stuff in these pots. I bought some for mosquitoes. Did the state bird here, but I haven't gotten around to it. I don't have time to do the front yard, but there you go. There's my garden, wheelbarrow full of supplies. Up, blueberries over there and fruit trees. We'll talk about those next time. If you made it all the way through this, thanks.